This week we're looking at the Ulanzi U-Mic. Is it the best budget mic on the market? Let's find out. Welcome to Smartphone Storytellers, where it's my goal to teach you how to tell stories using the smartphone you've already got. This week we're going to be looking at a new product that I picked up on a sale. I don't know if it's officially out yet or if they're just doing a pre-purchase offer, but I picked it up for, I think it was 79 bucks. It's normally 100, but don't quote me on that. But it is the Ulanzi U-Mic AM18, upside down. So you got a manual, you got this, I got a little case, USB-C to USB-C, USB-A to USB-C, Lightning to 3.5 millimeter, and then 3.5 to 3.5. We also got a little windscreen and another one. Now for the main event, we got the mic. So then it comes in a little charging case. It's a little bulky, but still can fit it into a backpack. It opens up. There are no, oh, just kidding. I was gonna say there's no LED indicators, but there are LED indicators on the front to show you how much charge you got. When you open it up, I'll show you the charge for your receivers, for your receiver, and your two transmitters. Got a nice build. It's a little plasticky, but seems solid enough. USB-C on the back to charge it. So go look at these mics. Got our battery indicator. We've got our pairing indicator. We have mic. I don't know if that's to say it's live and not live. And then you've got a record indicator. You do have an option to put a lapel inside, which is awesome. It does not have a screw in. It's just a pop in, like a normal 3.5 millimeter pop in. But it does seem like it's a nice tight connection at least, so that doesn't seem like it would pop out depending on your connection. USB-C on the side, record button on the side here, so you can manually record. And then you've got volume up and down, which I'm assuming is your gain controls, and a power button. And then your main mic up there, which you can also take Mr. Windscreen. Looks like it just screws right on, just popped right on. And the little guy's got a nice little hairdo now. Then on your receiver, you got on-screen display of your two microphones, the levels they're getting, their battery levels. There's a 0 there, so that's showing your gain level. That's pretty awesome. I like that it shows you that on your receiver. Shows you your connection strength, and then also the battery level of this. And then you can mute these based on the buttons on there. Headphone jack for monitoring, which is audio, as well as a camera out. So you can run this straight to your camera. I like that there's two separate ports for that. Sometimes there's not. And then also a lock button if you want to lock it so that you don't accidentally bump things. So that is the rough rundown of the physics of it. But ultimately, that's not what's important. The important thing is, how does it sound? Let's check that out. All right, so here we are at my local park on the football / soccer / whatever we need this week field. It's a pretty quiet environment, honestly. There's some fountains in the distance. There are some kids playing at a playground that is a little bit that way. But otherwise, other than some cars in the distance, it's pretty quiet right now. So what you're hearing is the Ulanzi U-Mic directly into the phone. I am running a dual record here, and I'll indicate on screen when I go between the onboard recording on the transmitter and the recording directly into the phone, in case there's any difference there. Hopefully there isn't, but just in case. So to get this recording started, literally all I did was plug in the USB-C cable into the phone and directly into the receiver and pulled them out of the case. Well, I did that first before plugging it in, and then just started rolling. I hit record on here, but otherwise everything's being controlled directly through the recording on the phone. Didn't have to do anything special. That's what I'm trying to say. There's not a lot of bells and whistles on here in terms of noise reduction. You've basically got gain controls and a couple other features that I talked about earlier. But in general, there's not a lot of bells and whistles, but hopefully the audio quality sounds great, and considering the price point and the basic feature set of having an onboard recording as well as hopefully a good sound, we're gonna be the judge of that in a few minutes here. Hopefully it's gonna be a good option. So that's what I'm testing out. All that being said, I do want to run it against a couple of mics I've tested in the past. So I've got the HollyLand Lark M1 here. The Lark M1 was my budget pick in the past, so we're going to kind of see if this dethrones it or not. So let's run that test now. This is the HollyLand Lark M1. My previous budget pick might still be my budget pick. We're gonna figure that out once I hear all the sounds and kind of let you guys know where I'm leaning. But in terms of price-wise, you can get the single version of this or the dual version of this pretty close to what you can get the Ulanzi for, so that's why I kind of put them in the same bracket. Ulanzi has onboard recording, this does not, but like I said in the past, good sound for the price, very easy to use. We'll see how the Ulanzi matches up. So, all that being said, we've tested it in the field. Now let's go back to the studio. All right, so after testing out in the field, I've got a couple thoughts. I'm gonna give you the good, give you the not so good, and I'm gonna let you know what I think. First, it's got great sound. I mean, yeah, it's not the best sound on earth. The shotgun mic in my studio sounds a little bit better, but considering the sound I heard when I was on the field, that was completely untreated, and I always do a little bit of treatment and post anyways to my audio, but those samples are completely untreated, I'm pretty impressed with the sound that this little guy gives. It sounded better than the HollyLand did. Once again, that's the budget HollyLand, so they do have some nicer microphones, but for that price point, this falls right in line with that price point. I think this sounds better. Plus, this has onboard recording, which the HollyLand does not. That's pretty much unheard of at this price point when you're getting 2 microphones, charging case, and a receiver to have onboard recording. It's not commonly found in that area. I did hear of some reports that if you let it run for 30 minutes, it makes a new file. I did not do a test for a full 30 minutes, but what it does is it'll create a second WAV file, and a couple people were saying that you might lose like 1 or 2 frames of audio when that happens, only on your onboard recording. So if you're running your recording into a device like your camera, then from my understanding, that should stay consistent all throughout. It's only the new WAV file you lose literally 1 to 2 frames of audio, and you'll just have to do a resync. It's not ideal, but the 30-minute increments for recordings is a pretty common practice, so I wouldn't actually say it's a huge downside, just something to be aware of. Plus, these are pretty simple to use. The fact that you just plug them in and go, you can do some gain adjustments, but outside of that, there's not a lot you can do. It's a plus and a minus. It's a minus if you want all the extra bells and whistles, but you have to consider the price point. But it's a plus side when you want to just be able to plug it in and not worry about like, oh shoot, did I fix this setting? Did I fix this setting? What about this setting? Sometimes on those higher end microphones, when there's so many extra settings, you never know if something's gonna get thrown off, and there's extra things that you need to check beforehand. Obviously those make it a little bit better sounding, but it is nice to just be able to plug these in, check your gain, and go. And then finally, the price point. The price, I mean, I got these on sale for, I think I said about 70 bucks. And that is a steal. The normal price is about $100, but if it's anything like Ulanzi's other products, these are gonna go on sale pretty frequently, and you can always get a discount code. I've almost never paid full price for an Ulanzi product because there's always discount codes flying around, whether it's a couple bucks off or it's a percentage off, whatever it might be. So consider the retail price of these is about $100. That's pretty insane considering all the other pluses. First downside is the build quality. They are a little bit of a cheaper plasticky feel. Obviously they had to cut corners somewhere in order to hit the price point they're hitting. And it seems like the plastic that they use is kind of the biggest place where they're cutting costs. I mentioned earlier how the case felt a little bit plasticky. That carries over pretty much to the transmitters and receivers. They have a very hollow plasticky feel. Almost like if you go to a cell phone store and they don't have real units on the shelves, they've got those little plastic ones that are just to show you what it feels like to hold them. That's kind of what these feel like, just a hollow piece of plastic. Given sacrificing audio quality versus build quality, I would rather sacrifice build quality over audio quality. It's just a matter of how well are they going to hold up? Time will tell. Next up, they're not as full-featured as some of the other microphones. Once again, they're cutting costs in order to hit a certain price point, and one of the other areas they pulled back are extra features. There's no noise reduction on these, which can be very hit or miss. I always prefer to do my noise reduction in post, and ideally film it in a quiet environment in the first place. Obviously, it's not always possible, and sometimes you can't do reduction in post, so it is nice to have as an extra tool. These don't have it. Next, it's kind of a bulky case. I usually will have a sling when I'm out on a shoot using my smartphone, so I can throw this into there. But let's say I wanted to go bare bones and just throw something in my pocket. Unless I'm wearing Jenko jeans, this isn't really fitting in my pocket too well. It's gonna be too big, bulky, and plus with the cheaper plastic, I'd be worried if I sat down that the whole thing is just gonna shatter. So, you know, bulky, not so good. Finally, and I would say one of the biggest knocks is there's no controlling of starting and stopping of records from the receiver. The only way to start or stop a record is to hit record on the transmitter. So whoever's wearing it has to make sure that they're hitting record in order to get that running. And there's no way to see on the receiver if it's recording or not. Literally the only way to see if it's recording is to look at the little red light on your transmitter to see, is it rolling, is it not rolling? It would be nice to have that peace of mind, even if it's just a little red dot next to the transmitter on your receiver, so that you can see, oh, you know, mic 1 is rolling, I know that that one's good to go. Oh, mic 2 just stopped recording, what's going on? You know, just to be able to troubleshoot those without having to visually look at the microphone to see if it's rolling. So that's the good and the bad, but what's my final verdict? Is this my new budget choice for a microphone? Honestly, I think so. The HollyLand in the past was my go-to because you can get the single mic and transmitter for, I think I paid 60, 65, maybe 70 bucks for them. And they have a decent sound to them for the price point, but for just a little bit more, you get 2 mics, you get a charging case, and you get a better sound. So honestly, I would say if you are in the market for a budget mic, if you are like, have nothing else to work with, stick with that HollyLand in terms of like, you can't go above that sales price. But considering the retail price is only like 10 or 20 bucks cheaper than these, I would say spend the extra 10 or 20 bucks, get the case, get the extra mic, and be good to go with the better audio quality. All that being said, I know I say it every week, but it is true. I like to talk a lot about gear on here, but I also like to talk about techniques. The thing to ultimately remember though is gear is just a tool and it's great to have, but ultimately it's not about the gear, it's about the story.